Have we reached peak degeneracy? What I noticed in 2020 is things went absolutely ballistic. Everybody started getting into cryptocurrencies, so basically engaging in the sin of usury. All the girls started to put up OnlyFans, and so every woman in the world became a prostitute. Meanwhile, we were locked down, and it seemed like absolute crazy biochemical mad stuff is going on. And all of that together kind of gave this feeling that it was the end of the world. Like something had reached this bottom point, the highest crazy point of history that we could possibly reach. Everything just seemed like it couldn't go any wilder from there. Now, since then, an awful lot of people have begun to stand back and really start to say to themselves, you know what, I actually want moral standards. One of the leading charges of this was Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate goes up and he starts to assert this idea that it's cool to be anti-liberal, it's cool to be traditional, it's cool to want to go and have a religion, it's cool to do all these type of things. Now, he's interesting because he was a webcam pornographer beforehand, and so he was in some sense overcoming that part of himself and moving now towards a family man who's religiously pious and leading the world with virtue and morality and all these types of things, and asserting a positive identity for men and a positive identity for women. And so you see this shift in the culture happen in quite a dramatic way. Now, it makes me wonder if we hit peak degeneracy, if 2020 and thereafter the fallout was the point where things were too crazy. Clown world hit its peak. I remember Jonathan Pajot used to talk about this, how the symbolic order was going to hit its peak at some point and then there'd be an inversion and then everything would come in a different direction. I wonder, have we hit that point? I wonder, have we got to the point now where people are beginning to get moralized again? People are beginning to sort of set standards. Because in some sense, what the internet has done in the West is that we live within this liberal paradigm, this liberal world order, which has this idea of total freedom for the individual. Then you combine this with total empowerment of the individual with technology. So we get to this point where we have this internet where we have complete moral freedom on how we express ourselves, how we express our passions, how we express who we are. And we have this complete capacity to express ourselves in the easiest way possible. And because of that, because of this unique blend, we start to go in this moral race to the bottom. You know, people try quicker and quicker and quicker to express themselves in a way that gets attention, that gets clicks, gets likes, where our dopamine systems get hooked up with these things. We get sucked in and we get distorted. And so eventually everybody's like, all the girls are getting naked on it and all the boys are paying OnlyFans girls. And eventually there's this kind of race to the bottom of porn and OnlyFans, whoredom and sexual immorality. And this period seems like it might have reached the maturity point. Has technology now exposed ourselves to ourselves that people feel like it just really can't go any lower? Like, how could things go more degenerate than this? How could things go to the step down? This seems like it's the absolute peak. And so if it is, something interesting might happen over the next couple of decades. There'll be a transition point. Finally, we will have reached the end point. The mimetic extreme of liberalism will have played itself out. Technology will have played itself out. And in people inside of our souls, we will once again develop this urge, this desire to have moral standards, this desire to be intolerant of nonsense, because we see that now that we're free, now that we're fully empowered to express whatever we want about ourselves, we don't want to participate in these races to the bottom. This shears us apart and this destroys us. We start to develop a standard that we approach towards technology, and this is not built in with laws or anything like this. This is built into us. It's built into our culture. It's the culture that we form starts to manifest these values. That could be very, very interesting. That's a possibility. Jonathan Pajot, proven right. He calls the money no. I bet he's in his room. He's like, yeah, guys, let's fucking go. He knew what was going all along. He nailed it. That could be the case. So it remains to be seen.